Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. So Potomac Beads sent me some new beads to play with. Their brand new Storm Duo is what they sent me. They sent me it in 3 colors. The aluminum, Aztec gold, and vintage copper. And they're a pretty cool looking bead. This is what they look like. They have 2 holes. And they also sent me these here, which are called bowtrios, and I use them, the bowtrios, to make this pendant here. And I also use the irisduos, which have been out for a while now, to make this pendant, and it turned out really cool. I'm going to show you how to make this pendant in the tutorial today. And in my next video, I will be using this here, which is called a PC Navette. There's 2 of these in a pack. I've already used one of them. And I will also be using the irisduos and the storm duos. In my next video, I will show you how to make this gorgeous ring. It's really pretty. It's been a while since I've done a ring, and when I got this stone, I knew that I had to make it into a ring. It's so pretty. This probably could also be made into earrings, but for me, I'd rather have it as a ring. So keep watching. I'll show you how to make this beautiful pendant, and in my next video I'll show you how to make the ring. Here is the list of materials you will need to make a pendant. You will need to cut 4 feet of 8-pound fireline, and you will need a size 10 beading needle. I'm also using these new bowtrios. These are from Potomac Beads. I think you can only get them from Potomac because they're making them. And this is what they look like. They have 3 holes. They're really neat. I really liked working with them. And you will also need 5 8mm bicones and 5 8mm Czech fire polish beads. Now you really do want to use 8mm Czech fire polish beads for this, because when I first started doing this, designing this pendant, I first used 8mm pearls. Well, at least they claimed they were 8mm. I noticed that when I was designing it that I had gaps in between my beads and it just wasn't fitting together right. So from past experiences, I took the 8mm pearls and I measured them, and they weren't exactly 8mm. They were like 7.4, so they were off. So I went and got some Czech fire polish beads because they are very accurate in their size, and my pendant worked out great. I didn't have any spacing. So 8mm Czech fire polish beads are very important to use for this. You're also going to need 5 6mm bicone beads, 10 4mm bicone beads, 15 irisduos, and these are also made and sold at Potomac Beads. You also need 6/0 seed beads, 8/0 seed beads, and 11/0 seed beads. And all the seed beads I'm using are Czech Preciosa brand. So this is the list of materials. I will have links down there in the description bar for the bowtrios and for the irisduos. Both of them are from Potomac Beads. I'm going to start this pendant by first picking up 5 6/0 seed beads, and these will be for the very center of my pendant. Slide all 5 down, and I want to leave an 8-inch tail so I can come back later and tie this in. So I find it best to go like this and measure my tail first, and then I hold at the 8-inch mark and I pass my needle through all 5 beads again, making a circle with my thread just like that. And then I go back, well, first I have to pull it tight. I go back and measure it. Right there's my 8-inch mark. Okay, so now I'm going to tie a surgeon's knot. So I go over and under 1 time, bring it down, pull it tight, and then over and under twice, pull that tight. And I actually, because I'm working with such big beads, I'm going to do it a second time. Over and under once, pull it down, over and under twice, pull it down. Okay, then I'm going to pass my needle through a bead, And I'm going to pull this thread so that the knot slips inside of the bead. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up my 8mm bicone, my 8mm Czech fire polish, and my bicone. I'm going to take the needle, pass through this 6/0 that I'm going through now, and if I can, I'll pass through the next 6/0. But I'm kind of at a tight angle because I'm using 5 seed beads from my center, but I did manage to go through. Okay, so then pull your thread, and we now have this. So this time I'm going to pick up one 8mm, and one 8mm Czech fire polish. I'm using so many different sizes in this pendant, it's kind of hard to keep track. So I'm just going to pass through the 1 for now, and then I'll pass through the next 6/0, just like that. Because at the angle I'm at, it's kind of hard to pass through 2 at a time. Okay, pull that very tight. Now we have this. So again, I'm going to pick up my bicone and my Czech fire polish, pass the needle through this bicone and through the seed bead. And if you want to make this quicker, pull the needle through and then you can go just like that and then pull it all through at one time. That's also another trick that I like to do to make it faster. Okay, so again, pick up a bicone and a Czech fire polish, pass your needle through this bicone and through the seed bead. Okay, so here I am. I have 5 bicones and 4 Czech fire polish. I'm going to close this up, so in order to do that I have to pass my needle through this seed bead and through that bicone. Pass it through and pull it tight. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my last Czech fire polish, take my needle, it's coming out, my thread's coming out here. I'm going to go through this bead, through the seed bead, and back out that bicone. Just like this. Okay, and pull the thread tight. Pull it as tight as you can get it. I'm actually going to be passing through the next Czech fire polish bead there. Okay, and I'm just going to pull everything tight, as tight as I can. So now we have this, and we are ready to do the bowtrios. So I laid out my bowtrios and my irisduos like this, so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. I'm making this star shape. I'm going to have this right here, a bowtrio, an irisduo, and a bowtrio between each of my Czech fire polish beads. So I'm going to pick it up like this. Make sure that the rounded side's on the top. Okay, just like that. I'm coming out of this Czech fire polish. I'll zoom in so you can see. I'm coming out of this Czech fire polish right here, and I have to go in through this one. Pull the thread through, and you'll have this. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Just like that, and pass to the next one. Do it again. Pass to the next one. Bowtrio, irisduo, bowtrio. Pass to the next one. Okay, and I have one more to do. and pass through the last 8mm Czech fire polish bead. And pull it tight. So now you should have this. So now I have to reposition my thread. It's coming out the 8mm. I need to go through the bow tie and through the irisduo. So right there, pull the thread through, and I need to step up by passing through the irisduo, but in the second hole, just like that. And before I pull that through, I need to make sure that this is very tight. Then I'll pull it through, and now I'm going to pick up an irisduo, and I need it to be laying with the rounded side up. One side's flat and one side's round, so I want it like this, and I'm going to pass through the center hole in the bow tie. Bowtrio, that's what it's called. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to pick up an 8/0, a 6mm bicone, and an 8/0. And you know, I am using bicones in 3 different sizes for this. 4mm, 6, and 8mm. So I'm passing through the next hole there in the bowtrio. Just like that. I'm coming out here, and I have to pick up another irisduo, and I'm going to pass through this irisduo. Okay. Pull the thread through. See how it sits just like that. You want to pull it very tight so that there is no thread showing. And I'm going to pick up another irisduo. Okay. And I think I'll zoom in just a tad bit more. So I'm going to take my needle and pass through this bowtrio. It is called bowtrio, right? Yes, bowtrio. Okay. Just making sure I got that right. There's so many different names now to remember for 2-hole beads, and these are actually 3 holes. Okay, coming through here, I'm going to pick up an 8/0, my 6mm bicone, and an 8/0, and go through the next hole. And now I need an irisduo. I'm going to go through that one there. Turn the pendant and pull it tight. Pick up another irisduo and through this hole. So I'm just repeating this all the way around. 8/0, 6mm, 8/0 through the next hole. Another irisduo through this irisduo in between my bowtrios. Okay, pull that tight. Pick up another irisduo and go through that middle hole in the next bowtrio. And I need to stop and pull this tight because I could see that my thread is starting to show, and now it looks better. Okay, so continue on. 8/0, 6mm, 8/0 through the next bowtrio. In the center holes, we're just doing the center ones. And then my irisduo through that irisduo there. And I might want to pick this up and pull that tight again. Do you see how putting that in there is making these come together really nicely? It's looking like a star now. Okay, I'm going to pick up another irisduo and put it right here. Okay, and then 8/0 my last 6mm and a 8/0 through here, And then my last irisduo. I'm going to pass through just like that. And now you want to pull everything tight, and you should have what looks like this. Now I'm going to take my needle and pass through this irisduo, and then I'll turn around and pass through the next hole in the same bead. So just like this. Pull it tight, and then pass through the next hole and through the next irisduo. So I'm actually passing through two. Okay, and then pull it tight. I'm going to pick up a 4mm bicone, a 6/0 seed bead, and an 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to pass my needle through the bowtrio right there at the point on my star. And now I'm between these two here, and if you look, there is a gap here, so I am putting an 8/0 seed bead in that gap, just one. I was going to put an 11/0 there, but see how large the holes are? The 11/0 goes into the hole, so I couldn't do that, so 8/0 is best. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to pick up an 8/0, a 6/0, and a 4mm and pass through the next two irisduos. Again, 4mm, a 6/0, and 8/0 through the next bowtrio. Pick up one 8/0, just like that. Fill in that little space. And again, 8/0, 6/0, 4mm bicone through these two irisduos. Pull tight. A 4mm, a 6/0, and an 8/0 through the bowtrio. Pick up one 8/0 and pass through the next bowtrio. Pop it into place, just like that. And an 8/0, 6/0, and a 4mm, and pass through the next two irisduos. Just like that. And again, a 4mm, 6mm, or not 6mm, 6/0, and 8/0, and then through the bowtrio. Okay, and I have to put an 8/0 between these two, and then I pick up an 8, a 6, and my 4mm coming out here, pass through these two. Okay, now I'm going to make a bail right here, and I decided that I'm going to do 2 bails on this because whenever I can do 2 bails on a pendant, I do, because what it does is it prevents the pendant from flipping. So if you have 2 bails, it prevents it from flipping. It stays always, you see the front of the pendant, and it doesn't flip to the back. So I'm going to take my needle and pick up 6 11/0 seed beads, 5 and 6. Okay, coming out the irisduo, I'm going to pass my needle back through it, and I think I'm going to reinforce this 2 or 3 times. If I can get through it a 3rd time with my needle, I will, to reinforce it. Also, it's nice having 2 bails because it makes it strong. You know, the bail is where your pendant is hanging from, so if you can get 2 bails on there, it prevents it from flipping, and it also makes it more durable. Okay, so I'm passing through again. Back through the irisduos. Okay, just like that. You can see my little loop there, and now I'm going to continue. I'm going to pick up bicone, 6/0, 8/0 through this bowtrio, an 8/0, and then an 8/0, 6/0, and a 4mm. Okay, oops, just dropped them all. Now I'm going to pass through the irisduos right here, and I'm going to make another bail, picking up 6 11/0s, pass through there again. I might only be able to, I need my chain nails. I might only be able to go through here twice because it's kind of tight, which is fine. You know, I have a second bail to help me out. So I decided to use jump rings to connect these bails to, or I can just put it directly onto my chain if I have a chain that has large enough links. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can go through a third time. I'm just gonna test. It's pretty tight. I won't worry about it. Okay, so now I can pass through this bicone here. Okay, pull everything tight, and it looks great. So right here is where my chain will be connected to, and I'm now ready to tie my knots. So now I'm going to show you how to tie this off, and I always like to show how to tie a piece off because every piece is different. You don't tie every piece off the same. Yeah, it might be the same knot, but if you don't tie it properly and you don't follow your old thread paths and you create new thread paths, you could warp the entire piece, and when you're done, yeah, it looks great, and then when you go to tie knots, if you don't tie them properly, your whole piece could end up warped and it won't lay right, and you'll have to remake it because it doesn't lay properly. So tying the knots on this one here is not bad. I'm going to take this working thread and I'm going to go around the outer edge here tying half-inch knots, and I go as far as I can around the entire outer edge, you know, coming back to where I started, and if I can, I'll weave my tail in through some more beads. So to tie a knot, I'm going to take my needle and pass underneath right here. This is where my tail's exiting out of. I'm going to make a loop and pass through the loop twice. Pull that down, pass through a bead, and tie another knot. Bring it down. So I'm going to pass my needle through all 3 of these. Right there, pull tight, and I'll start tying some more knots, and I'll just go as far as I can with this thread. Now with this thread here, I'm thinking that if I tie knots in the top, I think it'll be seen, and the first knot we tied is hidden. You can't see it right now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle, put it onto this thread. When I get done with this one, I'm going to pass down through this bicone, tie a knot right there. Do you see that thread right there? You can only see it if you put this at an angle like this, or if you're looking at the back. There it is, you can see it better. I'll tie a knot on this thread, and then I'll pass into this Czech fire polish bead, and I'll tie a knot there, and then I'll come up through the next bicone, go through this bead, go back down, tie another knot, pass through here, tie another knot on that thread, and I'll just be weaving up and down, tying knots with this thread here. And I'll go as far as the thread will let me go, tying knots, reinforcing this, so it lasts a long time. So once I get done tying knots, I can put my chain onto my pendant, and it'll look great.